So I want to make sure I don't mischaracterize anything. So I'm going to just say what I think you would agree with, and then let me know if it's off in any way, and then I have a follow-up for it. But the idea of the gynocentric society we have today and the alpha bucks or alpha fucks, beta bucks is the idea that a woman, the society is set up so that women can hook up with whoever they want when they're young, hook up with whoever they want with birth control, so they can even hook up with betas that they don't want their seed and not get pregnant. And then they can kind of choose who to get pregnant from. And also they, as they age, can go from being more promiscuous to less promiscuous and try to lock down resources. And that makes it, society benefits women because it allows that because of birth control and societal pressure. Is that accurate?
More or less. Now, the only thing I would disagree with is you said set up. Okay. I would argue that the gynocentric social order that we have is sort of the natural, it's the logical extension of what happened once we were allowed the luxury of being able to have sex without having to worry about pregnancy.
Well, that's actually my question kind of leads into that is, it seems like another way you could view it is that it's an alpha-centric society. And so I'd be curious.
It is now. Yeah.
So for instance, like that sets up men to be able to sleep with whoever they want, where women, it would sound like, are much more accepting of casual sex than they would have been in a world with no condoms, no birth control. They're like, I can't sleep with you for a night if you're going to bail, at least unless I have resources. So it seems like it's, I see an argument where you're like, oh, it's better now. Women have more freedom. But I think there can be a tendency in the red pill to see that as victimizing men. And I feel like it might victimize some men, but it seems like it also greatly benefits someone who can capture the attention and affection of a lot of women.
And then not have
So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go to prior to the sexual revolution, because the sexual revolution was, you want to talk about the natural outcrop and the natural flow, or the logical conclusion of hormonal birth control was the free love, the hippies and everything that came after that, Summer of Love, 1968, right? And the boomer generation that came after that. But the sexual revolution is what has sort of defined gynocentrism from, let's just say, well, 68, right? All the way up to 2020 right now. So, but prior to that, what happened before that? I'll just give you a quick illustration. I was talking to my mother-in-law one time. She's about 75 years old right now. And she told me that when sperm banks first came out, people were appalled back in the 50s, fertility clinics and stuff like that. They were appalled because at that time, prior to the sexual revolution, if a woman had a child out of wedlock, that brought shame on the family. It wasn't just a religious thing. It would bring shame on the family to the point where they have to take that girl, put her away. That's what they called it. We put her away, and she would have the baby, and she'd either put it up for adoption or the grandparents would raise the child, so that there wouldn't be any kind of shame brought on the family. And we're talking about like white middle class, upper middle class people that were doing stuff like this. Not to say that there weren't any illegitimate children. In fact, even the word illegitimate children is something that is sort of a prior to the sexual revolution. We would say this child is illegitimate because he doesn't have a father. After the sexual revolution, after women's empowerment, we say, well, progressively more and more and more women don't need the beta buck side because they can make their own money. They don't need a man to have a family because they have support. They've got, like I said, sperm banks and freezer eggs and all that good stuff. The beta buck side of hypergamy is sublimated. So all that's left is the alpha fucks side of hypergamy now. So that's why you see things like OnlyFans. That's why you see things like where women are saying, I make my own damn money. I don't, what is it? A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, that kind of, Gloria Steinem era, where they're trying to create this society of strong, independent women. Well, what does that mean? Independent of what? Independent of men. Independent of men's protection, provisioning, and parental investment. That's why 42% of childbirths in the United States are out of wedlock right now. That would be outrageous prior to the sexual revolution, but now we see it as, oh, it must be men's fault. It must be their fault that's the reason why. Why is it that 70% of women initiate divorces? Well, it must be men's fault for that. So what you're saying here is the opposite side of this is you.
Sorry. So even just right there, it sounds like, and you do this, to treat men and women as monoliths doesn't work, because there's still a lot of sexual success that is being had by men, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's what you're saying is that it's shrunk to the guy who gets someone pregnant, isn't there, gets another woman pregnant, isn't there, gets another, and now he's got 3-4 kids that he's not taking care of, and maybe later in his life he settles down. So I guess just even to point back to Ben's point, I'm curious what you think is that if the same amount of babies are being had, the same amount of sexual success is being had amongst men. It's just that it's favoring a different cohort of men, which we would describe, at least in this
top
paradigm,
20%
as alpha men.
It sounds kind of exciting to me if I'm a young man, if I'm 18, because it sounds like, okay, you don't really have to worry about becoming a resource bank for a woman who can't have a job. What you should focus on is being the kind of guy who there's genuine chemistry and there's a desirous, like, I want to sleep with that guy because I want to sleep with him, not because I want to get access to his money. So if I'm 18, it's almost like, I'm not a piggy bank anymore. Now all I have to do is focus on being the kind of person that people genuinely want to sleep with, and this is going to work out great for me.
Yeah, for the most part. Now, remember, and you asked me this before, doesn't it work out great for guys? Yeah, it does for the top 20% of guys. For the guys that women are with, in the manosphere, we have this saying, it's women would rather share an alpha than to be saddled with a faithful beta right now. You got to look like the Rock and get paid like the Rock, right? I mean, you got to have the whole package. Women will say that. You got to be the whole package. The problem is that women today don't look for the whole package. They look for the whole package over the course of time. So when they're in their peak sexual market value years, such as like 22 to 24 years old, they're looking for something different than when they get to be 30 years old, right there.